Iran, more than 100 protesters believed to be killed as top officials give green light to crush protests. A source from state ministry, until Monday, 1 p.m. local time, 200 killed, and more than 3,000 injured. Edit, net blocks. It has been 75 hours since Iran introduced a near-total internet shutdown, leaving Iranians isolated from the rest of the world. It's really crucial to get the connection back. Without internet, government can freely continue slaughtering people in news blackout. Western governments and human rights activists should act. Unbelievable way to make China look humane. Iran. This is a disaster. This does not make China look humane at all. Well, they didn't kill 200 protesters in the last 3 days. Arguing about which protest-crushing country is the least humane has to be the most ignorant thing I've seen in a good while, and we've seen some pretty ignorant stuff in the last 3 years. Why are you and a few others getting tripped up over semantics? There's no reason to argue here. All the first guy is saying is that at a time when China is surprisingly not killing hundreds of protesters and tension is high, Iran just crushes them under their bootheels. They are not saying China is good. What are you upset about? It is shameful how Iran treats its own citizens. I think some people get lulled into the idea that Iran is a moderate semi-democracy because of the way this issue plays out in politics, but this should remind everyone that they are just another authoritarian and despotic country. I don't think the US should be involved, but one can only hope they are able to get a better government for the people sometime soon. Iran is a country where being gay, or converting from Islam to another religion, can have you killed, and if you are Baha'i you can't go to college. Only on Reddit have I read about how progressive they are, and how it is only the US that is trying to make them look bad. Because both of those things can be true. The average Iranian is chill. The government is authoritarian. The problem is few people separate the country from the citizenry. It's like people looking at Trump and going yes, that must be what all 20-year-old Americans are like. I'm Iranian, so I want to say thank you. Exactly. My girlfriend is Iranian, and I have learned so much from her about how the government is a bunch of assholes, but the people are awesome. Can confirm it's true. Have met a bunch of Iranians here in Canada. They are all extremely chill and awesome. They all hate the Iranian government. Sucks too because it was a totally different story there before the whole revolution. Just called a friend who's from Iran. I haven't talked to her in a while, but after seeing the news I had to call to check on her. She says there is burning, looting, destruction of traffic lights, but the most shocking part is that a lot of cops are refusing to shoot the local population, so she says there are a lot of foreigners wearing Iranian uniforms making the shooting and killing. She says that 100 dead, the previous #1 read here in Reddit, is a gross underestimation. This tactic has been used a lot also in Arab Spring, using thugs and gangs to shoot civilians, happened in Egypt also. Same thing in Hong Kong, reports of triads dressed up as cops just going off on people. Tiananmen also used cops from distant provinces, because local cops wouldn't shoot. The first person killed that sparked this was from my mom's hometown. I hope change occurs without any outside influence. If it'd by the people then it'll be good, but when other countries get involved the new government will be even more messed up. I'm sure that if change becomes imminent under any circumstances, the Iranian government will manage to spread the word that it was another country's actions. But I'm with you, I hope it goes naturally. I hope change occurs without any outside influence. If it'd by the people then it'll be good. While I think outside interference is definitely sketchy at best, it won't necessarily just be good by virtue of being internal. Iran, of all places, already knows this. It is a massive effort to reorganize society, and I hope they bring a powerful effort to make the changes one that support liberty, because the alternative is just far too simple. My dad lives in Shiraz. I don't know what the hell is going on. We can only send paid text via SMS. If he or any one of my family living there got hurt, I probably wouldn't know for a long time. I hate this. I spoke to my mom in Shiraz yesterday. She said the first 2 days looked like actual hell, all banks in Maliabad on fire and gunshots everywhere. She said it rained on Monday, so the protests had cooled down for a little. Praying for our families and country people's safe being. Praying will definitely solve this disaster. Arguing semantics in a time where this person is worried about their family who lives in a country that's in crisis? Why? The brutal and repressive Ayatollah regime has to go. Sunni fundamentalism and Shia fundamentalism are equally cancerous. For some reason there's this ridiculous consensus on r/World News that absolutely loves Iran and defends anything they do yet hates the Saudi regime, even though they are pretty much the same thing. I understand not wanting the US to start a conflict with Iran, but I don't know how people can constantly defend them. Maybe this will be a wake-up call, but probably not. Seriously, like Iran hangs gay people from cranes, how is their government better than Saudi Arabia? They literally have active terrorist cells in Europe, and it's not the quick drop and break your neck kind of hanging, it's the slow suffocation kind of hanging that can take an hour or more. You're full of shite. Don't you just have a sunny disposition? What's going on in the world? Is this unusual? Iran, Hong Kong, Chile, Catalonia, Beirut, off the top of my head, all rioting. The internet is changing the system. Even though it's sad that these conflicts take toll on us by all the deaths, but I hope our effort as a regular day people, and all those who are fighting right now in protests around the world, defending what is really the right thing, gives us a better future to our children. Although the world can see very dark at times, I'm very hopeful for what's to come. I feel we are getting better as a society. There's great things happening at the moment, but we are only fed all the trash. Unfortunately, it's not getting better as a society as capitalism is failing. Inequalities are deepening. That's why people are protesting. That added to the consequences of climate change that will hit us sooner rather than later, it's not a really positive environment to grow children. That's simply untrue. Saying that inequality is deepening is a Western-only viewpoint and is just false for the majority of the world where wealth is growing extremely fast. Not saying that inequality isn't a huge problem, which it is, but bro, that's surely not for the whole world. This needs to be higher. They have shut off the internet in Iran, and there is limited reporting from inside the country. People could be being slaughtered right now, and screaming for help, and the West won't know. We can't turn a blind eye to this. What do you suggest, that we go over there and help? If we help them, then we have to help the people in Hong Kong, the people in Chile, the people in Lebanon, and everywhere where protests are going on. Yeah, it's the right thing to do, but how is it possible? Very true, can't just have other countries rushing into these places to stop it. That won't solve anything. Neither will all of the damn don't turn a blind eye posts, as if there is anything a 9to5 American can do to help. Too bad this won't trend like HK. Seriously, and how many protesters have died in HK again? Yeah. Not enough, /s. I get your point, but like, it's kind of hard to process. Obviously Hong Kong is in a bad spot. You feel for them. China is dangerous and Hong Kong's simple demands have been met with fierce resistance. But even still, the Chinese themselves have handled the situation with kid gloves comparative to their previous encounters. Not well, of course, mass arrests and questionable crowd control methods, but still comparatively muted nonetheless. Meanwhile, Iraq and Iran and Lebanon and Chile have massive protests, people are dying all over the place in those areas, and we get a fraction of the coverage. The reason for this is simple, Hong Kong is wealthy. Very wealthy. It has the resources necessary to push PR all over the place. These other countries don't. Their stories aren't being heard. Hong Kong's story is actually overshadowing them. But that doesn't mean HK shouldn't be heard, or that things aren't bad there. So I'm really torn on the whole reality. HK almost has a privilege these other poorer countries don't have. I feel like it has to do with how easy it is to empathize with the people struggling there. Hong Kong is a highly developed city, an international financial center and a tourist heaven. People in Western countries, where most Redditors are from, can easily imagine themselves in a similar situation, living in a first world yet unable to vote for your leader, fearing the loss of their right to free speech, etc. This seemed to come out of nowhere. Is there an ally for those not aware of how it got this bad in Iran seemingly so suddenly? From what I know, it's been a gradual economic crisis. It apparently started in 2009 with some protests around results of presidential election. Then after Trump imposing more sanctions, the economy went even more south, leaving people in a very bad economic condition. The recent protests started when the gas prices tripled overnight, which indicated an even worse economic condition and higher living prices for people. People started protesting. Government thought it's an uprising. Police forces used violence and it all went down to shit after that. Anecdotal, but family in the country has reported out that some of the protests focus on the rule of Islam and the role of the Quran as well. So there seems to be much more at play here than just the oil economics. Of course, high oil prices on their own are just the straw that broke the camel's back. Protests like this are a network of problems and motives.